All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Glad to be back.
You know, today we are talking about something that is particularly relevant for all of you working in finance in the EU.
Definitely top of mind for a lot of people, I'd say.
Definitely. And specifically, we're talking about DORA,
DORA.
which, as of today, January 17, 2025, is officially in effect.
Big day.
Huge. So to help us break it all down, we've got this excellent post here.
Yeah.
And
That's a good insights.
it really gets into the nitty-gritty of what this actually means for financial institutions.
Beyond the headlines and all that.
Right, exactly. So let's just jump right in. One of the things that kind of jumped out at me right away in this post was how DORA really kind of reshapes the existing regulatory landscape. Specifically, we're talking about those CSSF circulars, 2750, 22806, 24847, all that stuff dealing with ICT risks.
All the fun stuff.
Oh, yeah, the fun stuff, outsourcing incident reporting. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit? What does that really mean for folks?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that DORA isn't just like an add-on layer, right? It's creating this single unified framework across the entire EU. So it's really superseding all those national regulations that we had before.
Right.
And it's creating a much more harmonized approach.
So it's not that everything from the CSSF circulars is gone.
Right. It's not a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
But it's really about understanding where DORA takes precedence and then where those existing regulations still have relevance. So it's more of a recalibration, if you will.
Makes sense. Now, one of the things that this post really gets into is this whole new world of incident and threat reporting. And there's some pretty big changes there. What's the big headline here?
Well, I think the biggest shift is that we're moving to the CSSF's eDesk platform for reporting major ICT incidents and cyber threats. And this is replacing the old system.
Which was
kind of a patchwork, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you reported under PSD2, sometimes under ECB requirements. It was kind of all over the place. So this streamlines things, but it does mean financial institutions need to adapt their internal procedures.
Right. It makes sense. You got to know where to go, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So in this new system with the eDesk platform, this whole idea of the IT incident notifier becomes really important, right? Because that's who's actually going in and, pushing the button.
Right.
The post mentions, you need an LEI code for this. What are some things people might overlook or, not really think about when they're setting this up?
Yeah, I think it's easy to think of this as just like just designate somebody and you're good to go.
Right.
But there are some nuances here. Like if you're a part of a larger group, every single entity needs to have its own LEI code.
Oh, okay.
And then the other thing is you really have to think about the expertise of the person you designate.
Yeah, because this isn't just data entry.
Exactly. This person needs to be able to accurately assess the incident, categorize it properly, because that's going to directly impact how it's handled.
Right, so you need someone who understands the weight of that button.
Absolutely.
Now, what about outsourcing incident reporting? Is that still an option under DORA?
It is. Outsourcing is still permitted.
Okay.
But there's a big emphasis on transparency.
Okay.
So if you are going to outsource, you have to tell the CSSF.
Gotcha.
Give them all the details about the third-party provider. But ultimately, the responsibility still lies with the financial entity itself.
Oh, so no passing the buck.
Exactly. And in fact, DORA specifically prohibits this idea of aggregated reporting by third parties.
Interesting.
At least for now.
Okay.
So everyone's got to own their own incidents.
All right. Now, this one caught my eye, I got to say. Weekend and holiday reporting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reading this and I'm thinking, I better check my calendar.
Better clear your schedule.
Right. Like, what's the deal with this? How should institutions be thinking about this?
So the CSSF is going to notify specific entities by February 2025 if they're going to be subject to this weekend and holiday reporting requirement.
Okay.
And it really just underscores how critical these incidents can be. It can't wait till Monday morning.
Right, right.
So my advice would be just assume that you might have to report at any time and structure your team and your processes accordingly.
Always be prepared.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Speaking of being prepared, there's a pretty important deadline coming up. Between April 1st and 15th, 2025, everyone needs to submit a register of information through eDesk.
Yes, that's right.
And there are some validation checks that happen. So what should people be doing right now to make sure they're not scrambling at the last minute?
Well, think of this register as like a snapshot of your DORA compliance.
Yeah.
It covers your ICT risk management framework, outsourcing arrangements, incident reporting procedures.
Whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards. So my advice is start gathering all this information now. Don't wait. because this gives you a chance to find any gaps or inconsistencies and fix them before you submit, so the process is much smoother.
It's kind of like studying for an exam,
Yeah, Jack.
Cramming at the last minute is never a good idea.
Yeah.
And this whole idea, like, DORA compliance is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
Really resonated with me. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges for organizations as they try to really embrace that mindset?
I think the biggest hurdle is letting go of that checklist mentality, because DORA isn't about just ticking boxes. It's about building a culture of continuous improvement, adaptation. Yeah. And that takes investment, training, technology. Yeah. And I think most importantly, fostering that collaboration both within your organization and across the industry as a whole. Sharing best practices is going to be key.
So proactive, informed, and collaborative.
That's the name of the game.
I like it. DORA might be a new regulation, but it's really about facing the realities of this world that we live in, right? This hyper-connected financial world. So what are your biggest questions? What are you most concerned about when it comes to DORA? How are you preparing for this new era of digital operational resilience? Let's keep this conversation going. This is just the beginning.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.